Hey everyone, Brian from White Raven again. Today, we're going to be going over how you can set up a job process within your HubSpot account. This can be extremely helpful when you're just getting started and don't want to pay for a premium tool like an ATS or a Glassdoor. By going over into our settings menu and then choosing the objects and navigating over down into tickets and then going over to pipelines, the first thing we're going to want to do is create our different property verticals. Now that we've completed our verticals, we can navigate back over to CRM, tickets, and view our different application windows. The next step we'll want to do is build the application form itself. Navigating over to the form builder, we're going to want to create a few different properties so that we can keep track of the individual applicants. First name, last name, and email are the most essential ones. This allows us to see who's actually applying to the job. From there, we can create as many or as few additional properties that we want in order to keep track of the users. Building this status property and making it hidden is going to be what allows us to map the individual applicants to the pipeline that we had just created. We are going to pre-select this so that every time this form is submitted, this property is being piped into our CRM. Once we've completed building our form, we'll want to make sure we give it a nice, unique name so that we can find it in the next part of our step. Once we've gone into the workflow builder, we'll want to make sure that we set the enrollment trigger for anyone who's completed the form submission of that job application that we've just created. Once that enrollment criteria is established, we can move on to actually building the logic. The first thing that we're going to want to add is branching logic. By selecting that status, we want to be looking for that received application option. Now that we have this logic put into place, we move on to our next step. We're going to be creating a ticket associated with this particular applicant. The ticket name is the opportunity for you to identify what the individual applicant looks like. In this case, I've used new application, first name, and last name. However, if you use custom properties for individual job types, this could be a great way to keep track of each individual job and show it right there. Our next step is choosing the ticket pipeline and status. Since we've already created the new applicant within our application pipeline, we can select that as our option. Past this point, everything else you want to modify is completely optional and gives you the ability to customize it however you see fit. By clicking save at this point, we have everything we need to then turn this workflow on. As a brief recap for what we created on this form, we now have a contact enrollment trigger that looks for any user who has completed this form that we've created. It is then going to look at this property that we've created to make sure it has the received application option selected. It will then add the new ticket on the application pipeline, which is the one we created earlier, based off of that property we've created. By going onto the form, we can now test to make sure all of our settings have worked. Now that I've submitted the form, all the automation we just created should now run. The first thing we want to check is go into the workflow we just created, and we can go ahead and check out the enrollment history. The enrollment history shows that I just submitted this form and I have been enrolled in the workflow. That's great news. That's showing that this is working. That now means that when we go over to this ticket window and refresh the page, I now exist within this ticket processing. We can now have the record where we keep track of all of our process throughout the entire hiring phase and move the user through. And you can do this for as many or as few jobs as you need. Keep in mind, job applications is just one opportunity where you can do this, but you can do this for any kind of form fill. Hope this helps. Keep building, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care.